Hello comparison test viewers and welcome back to another All Cars Everyday video. You guys voted in the community tab on what comparison test you wanted to see this week, so here I am standing with the 2020 Ford Explorer, which is brand new for this model year. It's already been in a comparison test against the Palisade, Telluride, and Ascent, so if you want to see that comparison test first, check out the card in the upper right hand corner of the video. This is the 2020 Dodge Durango, which isn't nearly as new as the Explorer. However, sales have not dwindled as the Durango remains a very popular Fiat Chrysler product. The same goes for this 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee, which has not received a major update since 2011. However, Americans just can't get enough of this SUV, and it sells in volume. Finally, here is the 2020 Toyota 4Runner, which is the oldest model in this test, but Toyota still sells a ton of them, so it's worth comparing. I compare the trucks on a scale from 1 to 5 in 7 different categories and declare a winner based on points at the end of the video. Furthermore, I'm comparing the trucks at the mid $40,000 price point, which means I'm comparing specific trims of each vehicle, and I won't be adding any options or packages to those trims to keep the comparison test as fair as possible. So more specifically, I'm comparing the 4Runner and Explorer Limited to the Durango Citadel and the Grand Cherokee Overland. With that out of the way, let's look at our first category, which is value. The 2020 Ford Explorer Limited 4-wheel drive can be driven off the lot for $50,130, which is the most expensive vehicle in the test. The Limited is also the second cheapest trim in the Explorer lineup, with a price I found to be atypical for this segment. Let's see if it offers a comparably increased number of features for that money. The lights on the Explorer are LED all around, with automatic high beams and fog lights. Besides chrome trim pieces like dual exhaust tips and bumper inserts, the exterior of the vehicle also has big 20-inch aluminum wheels and roof rails. Ford was the innovator of the technology where swiping a foot under the rear bumper opens the rear hatch on SUVs, so naturally this $50,000 vehicle has it as well. Finally, the front of the vehicle has power folding mirrors and rain sensing wipers. Moving on to the interior of the car, the Ford has tri-zone climate control and an air filtration system for cabin inhabitants. The rear view mirror dims by itself when bright light is shined on it from behind, and the Ford has an intelligent key with push button start, which just allows the driver to enter and start the car without ever removing the key from their pocket. The Explorer also has My Key, which allows each fob to be configured differently than others, so parents retain control over teen drivers. Speaking of the key, the Explorer can also be started as you're walking up to it with remote start. The steering column is a power, tilt, and telescoping unit, and the rear view camera has its own washer. The interior has 3 12-volt power outlets, one in the front row, one in the middle, and one in the cargo hold. Before we move on to the seats and infotainment systems, there's a universal garage door opener in this car, as well as the capability to start and lock or unlock the Ford from an app, and lots of people appreciate that. The seats are all leather with micro perforation and contrasting stitching. The front 2 rows are heated, and the second row of seats are captain's chairs like the front. The third row is power folding for easy access to additional trunk space. The audio system is a great 980-watt Bang & Olufsen unit, and there's a navigation system that supports voice-activated controls. The nav and infotainment system run through an 8-inch unit in the center console, where you can access Sirius XM and the 4G LTE hotspot for passengers. Though this is a pretty loaded vehicle, you can get similar or sometimes even more advanced features on the following competitors. It's going to get a 3.4 out of 5 for the value segment. Next is the 2020 Durango Citadel, which costs $45,595. On the outside of the Durango, there are high-intensity headlights, fog lights, and full LED daytime running lights and taillights. The exterior is further decked out with mirrors that are both heated and auto-dimming on the driver's side, and a smart key system for seamless entry to the vehicle. This applies to all 4 doors, and the key has remote start. The tailgate is powered as to be expected for nearly 50 large, and up top there are roof rails. When it's raining out, the windshield wipers will recognize that and turn on. Like the Explorer, the Durango has huge 20-inch wheels. The inside is all leather, and the front 2 seats are both heated and ventilated. Both of those front seats also get 8-way power adjustment with 4 ways of lumbar support, which is sometimes rare to find on the passenger side. The driver also gets a memory function for their seat position, as well as a power adjustable steering column like the Ford. There are 3 rows in the Durango, the second of which are bucket seats that are heated like the front row. Technology in the Durango revolves around a 7-inch LCD screen between analog gauges in the instrument cluster and an 8.4-inch screen centered in the dashboard. The screen in the gauge cluster shows a digital speedometer as well as fuel economy, audio, and navigation information below it. On the left side, there's an analog tachometer, and on the right, there are the fuel and temp gauges. The screen in the center stack has voice-activated navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, and Bluetooth. The audio is routed through a 9-speaker audio system. Convenience features on the Durango include a sunroof, automatic dual-zone climate control with controls for the rear rows, and express windows for the front row. Up top, there is also a built-in garage door opener and an auto-dimming rearview mirror. Places to you plug in the Durango include 3 12-volt outlets, 2 USB ports, and a 120-volt AC outlet. Finally, there's an app called Sirius XM Guardian that allows owners to start, lock, unlock, and track vehicle functions from their phone, like the Ford. Though it was missing powered rear seats, power folding mirrors, and a very premium audio system, the Durango makes the best value case in test. With it comes heated rear seats and most other necessary features that buyers will want. It gets a 4.5 in this category. The 2020 Toyota 4Runner Limited 4x4 starts at $46,920. It has projector beam headlights and LED taillights, fog lights, and DRLs. The 4Runner is better suited for off-roading duty with skid plates on the engine, front suspension, and fuel tank. It looks good sitting in a parking lot too though, with 20-inch 6-spoke alloy wheels. Up top there are roof rails, and like the others the tailgate is powered. You can get into the Toyota with the Smart Key system, where you will notice the leather interior. In the 4Runner, both front seats are heated and ventilated. The driver gets a memory function and 8 ways of power adjustment with 4 ways of lumbar support. The passenger gets 4 ways powered. The gauge cluster has a 4.2-inch screen in between an analog tachometer and speedometer. The center stack features an 8-inch unit with navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Amazon Alexa, Sirius XM, and Bluetooth. These audio functions play through a fabulous 15-speaker JBL system, including a subwoofer and amplifier. Convenience features on the 4Runner include a sunroof, dual-zone automatic climate control, push-button start, 4 express windows, and HomeLink. There is also a Wi-Fi hotspot, an auto-dimming rearview mirror, and the app that connects the 4Runner to the owner's smartphone. Places to plug in are plentiful, with 5 12-volt ports, 1 120-volt AC outlet, 4 USB ports for charging, and 1 for the audio system. The 4Runner has most of the features the Durango has, but is also $1,400 more expensive. It's getting a 4 out of 10. The 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland 4x4 is $49,295. Outside, it's got high-intensity headlights, LED DRLs, fog lights, and taillights. The mirrors are both heated and auto-dimming, and they have reverse gear tilt-down and a power folding feature at this trim level. The tailgate is of course powered as well, and there are roof rails for ease of hauling. The windshield wipers automatically sense rain, and the Smart Key system on the Grand Cherokee also has remote start on the fob. Finally, the Grand Cherokee also matches the others with huge 20-inch wheels. The inside is full leather with 8-way powered front seats, including 4 ways of lumbar adjustment. Both of those seats are heated and ventilated as well, and the driver gets a 2-position memory function. The Grand Cherokee has 2 rows of seats, and the rear passengers are treated to heated cushions as well. Technology in the Grand Cherokee starts with the voice-activated navigation on the 8.4-inch screen in the center console, and end with the 7-inch LCD screen in the gauge cluster, nearly identical to the Durango. Like that vehicle, it also has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, and Sirius XM. The app that connects owners' phones to the car that I talked about with the other SUVs makes it to the Overland as well. Convenience features here add on to the Durango a little bit, with a huge panoramic sunroof, dual-zone automatic climate control, a universal garage door opener, and express windows up front. The steering wheel has a power tilt and telescoping feature, and 1 AC outlet and 3 12-volt outlets are inside. There's also an auto-dimming rearview mirror and a built-in Wi-Fi hotspot. The audio in the Jeep is played through a good 10-speaker system. I think the Grand Cherokee is more expensive than the comparable Dodge because of the brand name and mechanical features, but it's objectively not as good of a value proposition in terms of features as the Durango is. It does have a slightly better audio system and a big panoramic sunroof, but other than that, there are only small differences between the two. It's nearly as expensive as the Ford, and I think that vehicle is more luxurious. It's getting a 3.3. In this category, I look at the IIHS crash test results and compare the active safety technology that each model offers standard. The Explorer has the obligatory forward sensing system that beeps at low speeds when it's approaching a solid object. The Ford also has lane keeping assist with lane departure alert and Ford Co-Pilot 360 Plus. The bundled features in this package that are standard on the limited trim are automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection and blind spot information with cross traffic alert. Since the Explorer is brand new, the IIHS hasn't tested it yet. The 2019 model wasn't a star performer when it came to crash tests, but I'm sure Ford remedied that for this new model. The Ford gets a 4, as it's missing a self-driving feature that the Toyota has, but retains blind spot warning, which the 4Runner is missing. I've noticed that Fiat Chrysler cars save most active safety features for an options package, so the Durango only has parking sensors standard. It was rated good everywhere from the IIHS, except it got marginal for the headlights and driver's side small overlap test, as well as acceptable for the ease of use for the child seat anchors. 3.2 for the Durango, as I'd like to see more standard active safety in the future. The 4Runner has a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, lane departure alert with sway warning, automatic high beams, dynamic radar cruise control, and parking assist sonar. It was scored similar to the Durango from the IIHS, with good everywhere except the same ratings for the marginal overlap, poor for the headlights, and marginal for the ease of use for the child seat anchors. This truck was relatively packed with active safety, so it'll get a 4.1. The Grand Cherokee was, again, missing some key active safety technology, but it did add blind blind spot warning to the Durango's parking sensors. Like the other two that are scored, it got good everywhere except the overlap test, a range of poor to acceptable for the headlights and marginal for the latch anchors. It scores slightly better than the Durango with 3.4. You can get more active safety technology on these models, but it's going to cost more. I wouldn't be surprised if Chrysler found a way to make more active safety technology standard, as clearly the industry is moving toward having more of these features standard across their product range. The Explorer comes with a 2.3-liter EcoBoost inline 4-cylinder that's turbocharged to 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. This is routed through a newer 10-speed automatic transmission to Ford's intelligent 4-wheel drive system, which is good for an estimated 7-second 0-60 run. This 4-wheel drive typically routes power through the front wheels, but under stress or slippage, it can route power to either the rear wheels or remaining wheels with traction to get owners out of a bind. The Ford is getting a 4.8 for having lots of power, new equipment, and being speedy. The Durango and Grand Cherokee have Chrysler's venerable, if aged, 3.6-liter Pentastar V6. This engine has done duty in an enormous variety of models over the course of many years, so it's a familiar starting point in the FCA lineup. In both models, it makes 295 horsepower and 260 pound-feet, all of which goes through an 8-speed automatic driving all 4 wheels. However, the Durango has a more traditional all-wheel drive system, while the Jeep is considered a 4x4 and the system is more advanced, like the Explorer's. The Grand Cherokee is a tenth faster to 60 miles per hour at 7.3 seconds to the Durango's 7.4. The Jeep scores 4, offering a similar 4-wheel drive system to the Ford and a perfectly adequate V6 and 8-speed. The Durango gets a 3.7, scoring behind the Jeep because it has a more generic all-wheel drive system. The 4Runner has an ancient but reliable 4.0-liter V6 that tops out at 270 horsepower and 278 pound-feet of twist. It's got advanced 4-wheel drive, but the transmission rains on the parade, as it comes with only 5 forward speeds. It's in desperate need for an update. Regardless, the 4Runner can get to 60 in 7.5 seconds. It's getting a 3.7 like the Durango. It's brought down by its old powertrain but retains some value for its superior all-wheel drive. The Explorer gets 20 miles per gallon in the city and 27 on the highway for a combined 23. The FCA twins get 18 in the city and 25 on the highway for a combined 21, respectively. The Toyota brings up the rear with 17 in the city and 20 on the highway for a combined 18. 4.8 for the Ford, as it is the clear winner, 4.3 for the FCA trucks, and 3.8 for the Toyota. I get this statistic from Consumer Reports, which aims to objectively rate predicted new car reliability based on historical trends. They rate each vehicle on a scale from much worse than average to much better than average, with average of course falling in the middle. The Explorer gets average, and the Jeep and Dodge are both rated worse than average. However, in this category, the Toyota pulls ahead with a rating of better than average. Each step in Consumer Reports scale correlates to a half-point award in my comparison tests. So the Toyota gets a 4.5, the Ford gets a 4, and the Dodge and Jeep both get a 3.5. This is the only subjective category I rate, so remember that when I assign points. If you disagree with what I think looks good or bad, adjust the assigned points accordingly to fit your tastes, as it could affect the winner of the comparison. I personally think the Durango is the best looking SUV here, with a design that has so far stood the test of time. The tail lights have not been able to be replicated in such a manner by other manufacturers, and the front takes a page from Ram trucks with a hint of a snarl in the demeanor. It's got what I consider to be the best interior of the group, with a very well integrated screen and an otherwise sporty design. It's getting a 4.5. The Grand Cherokee is next, and though it too isn't a new design, I truly haven't gotten sick of it yet. The rear of the vehicle is where it stands out to me, as I think the taillights and creases in the sheet metal give it a clean, all-business look. The inside is conservative and flies under the radar, which is perfectly fine, seeing the general design is approaching a decade old. I don't like the steering wheel as much as I liked it in the Durango though. It'll get a 4.3. The Explorer is nearly as good looking as the Jeep on the outside as well, and I think this SUV has the best side profile of the bunch. Though the 2019 Explorer wasn't unattractive by any means of the word, I think all new models should diverge a little more from the previous generation. The rear of the 2020 is hard to distinguish from the 2019 for the untrained eye. It has the second best interior, and I can tell Ford is trending toward less buttons to avoid distracting from the simple dashboard lines. In total, I think it deserves a 4.3 like the Jeep. The Toyota is a little blocky for my tastes, but it's a body-on-frame truck, so it totes that old-school aura the other SUVs lack. The TRD trims get a little more aggressive with the front in terms of body cladding and hood scoops, but the Limited seems like a work truck that was forced to dress up for a job interview or something. The TRD styling fits the 4Runner much better. The inside is a laggard in this segment because it is so old. It's plastic fantastic like a Corvette out of the 80s, but the build quality is obviously many times better than a Corvette. For those of you unworried about styling, don't let this category deter you from the 4Runner, but it's still getting a 3.4. This category is to evaluate seating and cargo capacity, towing abilities, and other miscellaneous features that deserve to be compared. The Ford has 3 rows of seats that can fit 6 people because the second row is bucket seats. The rear row folds in a 50-50 split. It can tow 5,300 pounds and has 18.2 cubic feet of space behind the third row. That expands to 47.9 with the third row down and 87.8 with the second row down. Total space for passengers is 152 cubic feet. In this category, it tows less than the FCA twins, but is much roomier inside. It's getting a 4.3. The Durango seats 6 as well in a similar configuration. It has 17.2 cubes behind the rear seats, 43.3 behind the second, and a maximum of 84.5. It's a little more cramped for passengers of the Durango though, with 134 cubic feet for occupants. Headroom in the third row is slightly compromised for anyone over 5'10", as they won't be able to lean their head all the way back without it coming into contact with the roof. However, it tows 900 more pounds than the Ford at 6,200. The Durango 2 gets 4.3. The 4Runner can be optioned with either 2 or 3 rows. In this configuration, I've left it 2 rows. The rear seats fold in a 60-40 split, and it has 46.3 cubic feet behind the seats and 88.8 with them down. Passenger space is unrated, but trust me, it's big inside. Finally, it can tow a maximum of 5,000 pounds. It's got lots of room, but missed the memo on towing, so it gets a 4.2. The Grand Cherokee is the smallest in test. Though it's on the same platform as the Durango, it doesn't come with a third row, so it seats 5. The rear seat folds 60-40, and when it's up, the cargo hold has 36.3 cubic feet of space. Maximum cargo space is 68.3. It's smaller inside than the Durango with 105 cubic feet for passengers, but it can tow an identical 6,200 pounds. Though it put out for towing and implied off-roading capability, it ties for the least amount of seats and has the least usable room. 4.1 points here. These are the final points for each truck. As you can see, the Ford beat the second place Durango by a significant margin, which is ironic since it didn't do so well against the Hyundai Palisade and Kia Telluride. In this test, though, it's clearly dominating. The Dodge would remain my pick, as I prefer the styling and it offers the best value proposition of the SUVs here. The Toyota and Jeep were relegated to 3rd and 4th respectively, though both remain solid choices. I wouldn't steer you away from any of these 4 offerings, but if you're looking for off-roading prowess, the Toyota and Jeep are your best bets. However, the Toyota is being left behind in nearly every category right now, so I'm looking forward to the new 4Runner. The Jeep is extremely competitive, but it was hurt significantly by the value segment. I would suggest buying a cheaper trim for a better deal. Regardless, whatever your choice is of these 4, you're still getting a solid offering in the midsize SUV segment. Thanks for watching.